Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to Canadian Country Gold right here on MKOCRadio.com. Jeff will be back in just a bit with more great music, but right now I've got a very special guest. We often use the word legend, and many times it's just a cliche, but in the instance of my guest tonight, legend just scratches the surface. He's won award after award in Canada, the United States, and worldwide, both as a performer and a songwriter. In his 60-plus year career, he's had over 30 albums and written over 500 songs. He's worked with a virtual who's who list of country greats, and this year he'll be inducted into the NACMAI Hall of Fame. It's my honor to welcome Dick Damron to the show. Dick, how are you tonight?
Fine, thanks. Nice to hear from you, Scott.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I am so looking forward to seeing you at the NACMAI Awards. That's going to be a fantastic show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people we all know there, and that's what really makes it fun. It's a kind of a like the old country music week things when people came from all over, and lots of times it was the only time you saw them. So I'm sure this will be a wonderful time.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a stellar list of performers, including yourself. We've got Jeannie Kendall, Rex Allen Jr., Margie Singleton, Joyce Smith, and I'm going to be there to kind of cheer everybody on, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, I never knew Rex Jr. that well, but I knew his dad very well because he used to tour Canada. He was always a special guest at the big rodeos up there, you know. And I often was playing there when he came in as a guest, so I knew him quite well. And we came so close to him recording one of my songs, and it was with Beechwood Music, which is Capitol Records publishing company. And he liked this song a lot. I sang it for him, and he said, he really liked that. Well, a few months later, he was in the studio down there recording, and he got one of his guys to call Beechwood about a song, and they said they'd never heard of it. so it never made it to the session. I don't know where it got caught up. I guess it was signed to Beechwood, Canada, and it never got bicycled down to L.A. I don't know.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, geez.
Strange things happen in the business.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, you've had some great songs of yours that have been recorded by other artists. I know Charlie Pride did one of your gospel songs. I've played that on my show quite a bit. Jesus, It's Me Again. You had a big hit with that one too, right?
Yes, a lot of people. George Hamilton IV recorded it too, and Carol Baker, who was a big artist in Canada, recorded it. I can't remember exactly, but I think there's something like 21 or 22 versions of it. And I keep saying to people, they said, is there anything that you would like to accomplish that you haven't after, I turned 84 in March, so I've been around a while. They said, anything well, I said, I'd really like to see Jesus, It's Me Again become a classic. And he said, well, what more do you want? It has been successful, but I always thought that one of the big major gospel groups did it, that it might be, something that spread the whole song around rather than it's kind of hung in country music because it's all country artists that have recorded it. But I just like it to be a song that people sang in church. I know I sang it for a lot of people at different occasions.
Absolutely. It's a great song. And another classic, too, is Countryfied. I know you had a #1 with that, and George Hamilton had a #1 with that song. That's become a classic, too.
Yeah, it sure has. And the one thing about George Hamilton IV, he was such an unselfish man. Any place he used that song or sang it on his concerts, he always mentioned, here's a song written by a Canadian country songwriter and so on. And he played Europe a lot in those days. And just from his touring over there, and that song also became a theme song of his country TV show, that kind of opened the doors for all of my overseas tours.
That's right. Well, we have a large listener base overseas, and your music is super popular there. I get a lot of requests for it, and you've won a lot of awards over in Europe too, haven't you?
Yes, over the years we've picked up a few. They've been really good to me over there, and I credit George Hamilton IV for being the kind of a guy, because a lot of artists record a song and they just assume that everybody thinks it's their song.
That's right. I know, Dick. You certainly have won a lot of awards worldwide, and I could go right down the list. There's a lot of them. Looking back at the beginning of your career until now, did you have an idea of where you were going to go with your career, and did you ever dream that you would have so many accolades in your career?
Well, no, not really, because when I first started out, actually, Scott, I was a fiddle player, an old time fiddle player, and my brother played accordion, and
Is
we
that right?
played basically old time dances in the country. And then when I kind of got more into the country music instead of the dance music, I got into the idea of recording, and that was about the time rockabilly started. So our first record was a rockabilly song, and it did pretty well for just a local record, and it ended up on a lot of jukeboxes and stuff, which was kind of the life of the 45s in those days. And it's just gone on from there. Let's say it's been a long time, and it started off pretty slow, but we had some really big years through the 70s, and now, of course, I'm kind of about halfway out to pasture.
Well, I'm sure you still do quite a bit of performing. Now you're down in Mexico right now, is that right?
Yes, I first came down here in the 70s just for a couple of weeks holiday, and I liked it, and I met some other bands that were playing, and not country bands, but blues bands, and I play a little bit for the blues harp, so I ended up playing with a band called Gato Gordo, which is Fat Cat from Guadalajara. And then the next time I came back, I just started doing a solo thing in the clubs with my guitar and doing my own country stuff. And it's just built up from there. And when I was in Canada, about the only thing to do in the wintertime, because there's no fairs or rodeos or that kind of things, was to go up north. So I wasn't happy with being 40 below. I had to go where it was 50 below. So we ended up going to places like Whitehorse and Yellowknife and Fort Churchill and playing winter carnivals and things like that. And it has just gone on. And then, of course, when started going overseas, that opened up a whole new market over there too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I know you toured a lot overseas too. You played the big Wembley Festival over there too.
Yes, I did. That was a big break. I was over there at the time. I wasn't even aware of the festival, but I was over there at the time, and we were about halfway through our tour, and road manager said it should be nice if we could end up with Wembley, and I said, "Well, I imagine they're all booked." And he said, "Well, I'll talk to your record company." Next thing I know, they called me back and said, "Yeah, you're on the Friday show at a certain time." That was it. So I did that the first time in '76, I think. And then '77, I wasn't over there, but I did it in '78 again. And I wrote a little poem about it one time, which I thought would grow into a song, but it's never quite made it. And it's only a couple lines. I'll repeat it here for you if you'd like to hear it.
Oh yeah.
It says, "My faded old T-shirt says '76. Somehow I remember it well. Marty Robbins, Carl Perkins, John Hartford, and I had our songs and our stories to tell." So that was the first time, and I was going to, use a little recitation as an opening, and then sing the song, but I just never got the song right.
Wow. Well, you ought to finish that one.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting to be on with people like Marty Robbins and Carl Perkins, because when I started doing my rockabilly stuff, of course, Carl Perkins was an idol, for me more so than Elvis, because Elvis wasn't really a writer. He was probably one of the greatest performers we've ever had, but he wasn't a writer where Carl Perkins was, and that was the important thing for me. In fact, one of the first record companies I ever approached, they said, "Well, we're not much into recording cover songs, but if you got any originals." And I lied a little bit and said, "Yeah, I do." And I went home and wrote some because I hadn't been writing rockabilly stuff.
Oh,
After that
wow.
record came out, then we started doing like teen dances, rockabilly stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. You know, it holds true today too. You know, it's all about the songs, and that's what gives a career longevity. And you know, the music that you've written will stand the test of time, and it's always going to be there. And that
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Because I think it's like when I bought albums, I always bought songwriters albums. Christopherson, I'm sorry, Chris Christopherson and Gordon Lightfoot, of course, in Canada, and always on the song. And being a writer, of course, that was a big thing is to try to get a song that had an identity to it, which would also give me an identity as an artist. Where if you're bouncing around doing other people's songs, and maybe it'd be a great song, but it might not just fit your quote unquote image or whatever style that people were used to hearing.
that's right. That's right. So now, do you go back to Canada then during the summer months, Dick?
Uh, yes, I do. I just go for a couple of months, usually July and August, or June, July, or July and August, because at that time there's a lot of things going on, all the rodeos, fairs, and festivals and things like that. Where the rest of the year I stay down here, basically to stay in the warm weather too.
Yeah,
And
I don't
I'll
blame you.
give you just a short history here. In 2001, I had a major stroke, which totally paralyzed my left side. And I was in the hospital down here for 10 days. And then I was about 3 months in therapy down here. And even after I come out of that, it was quite a while before I could play again. So that kind of changed my whole direction. And now I really come a long way since then. I did have 2 more TIAs, which are small strokes, trying to ischemic attacks. And last year I fell and had a nasty fall and broke my shoulder and shattered my arm.
Oh my gosh.
So that kind of hung me up for a while, and so I went into the therapy thing all over again. And one of the nasty things about that is I was in so much pain. I didn't realize that your whole body could be in that kind of shape from a broken arm. But it was horrible, and I had to be flown back to Canada, and I spent 3 months as an outpatient at the Lockheed Hospital in Calgary. So now I have to be careful with my health, and I stay down here as long as I can and get up there for the busy time in the summer.
I don't blame you there. Well, I'm glad you're doing better. We're certainly looking forward to seeing you in Pigeon Forge. And you're going to be at the North American Country Music Association International Hall of Fame ceremony at Saturday, March 17th at the
Yes.
Country Tonight Theater in Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, I'm sure looking forward to it. And the other lady from Canada that's on is Joyce Smith.
Yes,
and
sir.
Joyce and I have a long history because I played steel guitar in her band for a few years.
Is that right?
And also, I think other than at that time, I think she was the first other artist that recorded one of my songs. So that's always been special to me.
Oh yeah, well that'll be a nice reunion to you guys to get together. I'm looking forward to sitting around and hearing some stories.
Yeah, I just can't imagine how much fun it's going to be, and I look forward to performing on the show too. I'll be doing 4 songs on there, and of course I'll be doing songs like Country Pride and Jesus It's Me Again that some people will know and other people will be brand new to them. Some of them were released in the United States and some weren't, and some of them were just played on independent stations, and I just sent the records down to them myself, and they were always well received.
Well, that's wonderful. I know Jeff plays you every time he does a show, and we do too. I've got you in our rotation, and I play on my live shows, and the music's fantastic. And I get a lot of requests, like we were talking earlier, overseas from people, and it's wonderful, you know. And folks, you can get tickets for that at the website for NACMA. It's www.nacma.info. and countrytonightpf.com. We have that information on our Facebook page, on our website as well. And we hope you'll come down and see that show. Dick, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your songwriting. What are some things that influence you as you're writing songs? Do they just kind of pop into your head, or is there something happens, or how do songs come to you usually?
Well, that's a long story too. Everything I have is a long story. When I was about 9 years old, I think, I scratched out a little poem, and there was a magazine that was an international magazine. I think it was called Wisdom, or something like that. And I sent that poem into them, and they published it. Well, my dad was a pretty hard old man. He wasn't much very sensitive about anything except his own. He raised a lot of hereford cattle and so on, and he was a workaholic. And to even acknowledge us kids, which is really strange, and he's resting in peace, I hope. But that was the first thing he ever gave me credit for. And anytime anybody come along to visit or something, he had to pull that magazine out and show them the thing. So, for the kind of life I was leading as a kid, that was such a boost for me.
Yeah.
And so for a while, I was just scratching out little poems and so on, and I was already playing the guitar a little, but just Hawaiian style. I'd lay it across my legs, and it was tuned different than the Spanish guitar, and use a kitchen knife as a bar to play the chords, and started singing these little songs. And it went from there until the time that I had mentioned before, when I wanted to record, and companies all said, well, we'd like original music. So that's when I really got serious about it. I was kind of a cowboy guy, so the first songs I wrote were about, riding the range and my little old pony and all this stuff. And then the rockabilly, and then the country stuff.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, what a story career you've had. And Bear Family has a couple really nice collections on you. There are a couple three CD sets. One is called More Than Country 5, and that covers the early years from 59 to 76. And then Lost in the Music covers your later stuff from 78 to 89. And I always recommend Bear Family. They do such a great job. They're very meticulous.
They do. Yeah, and they're great people. I've known Richard Weiss, who's owner of the company in Germany, and he used to come to some of my concerts over there, and he always said, someday we're going to do some records with you. And I said, well, that'll be fine. And then I can't remember exactly what year those came out, but he got a hold of me, and we chased down all the masters that we could get, and he did not one but two box sets, I guess. There's 3 albums on each one, and I think it's a total of 156 songs like that. So that was wonderful. Do you have that album?
I do not. I've got a lot of the songs from it, but I don't have it. That's what I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah, I'll definitely see if I can get a hold of a couple copies. I used to have them sent over here, but it's quite a problem to get them sent from Germany to Mexico. They get held up in customs and everything else. And I usually order them in when I'm back in Canada, but I'll sure try to get the albums for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I would love that. That'd be great. Well, tell me, Dick, I know, I've seen so many pictures of you with just about everybody famous in country music. I know, it's kind of like, picking a needle from a haystack, but can you tell me a story or two of some of your favorite memories of people that you've worked with, and just some things that stand out in your mind?
The first sessions I did in Nashville were in 1961 and 1963, and it was hardcore country. We did them at Starday Studios, which at that time was a big independent. They had people like George Jones and Roddy West and people like that on the label.
Absolutely, yeah.
So and we just had they got me the best musicians. Hargus Robbins, who was, was recently put into the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest keyboard players. Pete Drake on steel, and Pete Wade on lead guitar, and Junior Husky on bass. And the first ones, we just got a little local play on them. And then the songs that were on the second session, a song called Hitchhiking, became a #1 song for us in 1964. So since that time, the image has almost always been the same. I always wear cowboy boots and a hat and so on. Of course, down here I wear the sandals and whatever I can put on my head to keep the sun from drying my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, the image is always pretty well good. The same, of course. We changed them. When we played in Vegas, we started out with, all when the National Finance Rodeo was on. So, of course, we kept the country image, but we all got matching dress and so on, rather than just being the bunch of guys that ran up on stage.
Yeah. So who are some of the favorites you worked with, and some road stories of some people you've worked with?
Well, I would say Waylon Jennings was one of my favorites, and I just I did like a local festival with him in Calgary one time, and I did. Well, they still have it. It's a big country music festival called Big Valley, and it used to be in Craven, Saskatchewan, area, and I was on that with Waylon. And then not too many years before he passed, we did a short tour in Canada, and we were lucky enough to be booked as the opening act for it. And he just we were just buddies from the first time we shook hands, And I had written a song. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Like, it might be on one of those Bear Family records. It was called Waylon's T-shirt, and everybody got a. Did you ever hear it?
I have not heard it. No.
Well, anyway, it goes with my Waylon Jenny T-shirt, my Willie Nelson haircut, Chris's lyrics running through my brain. Too much drink and too much smoke to tell your friends it ain't no joke. Sometimes I don't know who the hell I am. And that was searching for identity, of course, in business when those were the biggest names that go around. And he kind of got a kick out of that too. And his producer, who was a producer at that time, was Ray Pennington.
Oh, yeah.
And he happened to come into the studio when we were recording that song, and the producer said, "What do you think of that song?" And he just said, "Well, at least he's not trying to sound like Waylon." So that's all I got out of him. But a lot of people really got a kick out of it. And actually, we did make up Waylon T-shirts as promotion. And when I talked about the record, they said, "Well, we never sold any records, but we sold a lot of T-shirts."
There you go.
Yeah. And other artists too. Going way back, I think the first they were all Grand Ole Opry shows that time, because independent artists didn't often make it up to Canada unless they were from Montana or something across the border.
Right.
But the Nashville artists and the LA artists and so on, the first ones I think that I opened for was a show with people that all had hit records at that time. And I think, I can't be 100% sure, but I think it was 1961. And little Jimmy Dickens was on the show, John Gibson was on the show, and Skeeter Davis was on the show. And they all had big records,
Oh, wow.
And it was just great to be on there with those people and to be back in the dressing rooms and so on. And just kind of discover that those people weren't mysterious artists that you only hear on the radio. They were genuine artists and some of the nicest people that I ever met or ever worked with. So that was really just a very nice feeling for me.
Oh, that's great. Did you ever work with Hank Snow? I know you guys were label mates. You were both on RCA Records there for a while.
No, I never did, because Hank was a little earlier than I was, and him and both Wolf Carter, I don't know who Wolf Carter was.
Oh, absolutely.
Wolf was big in the cowboy stuff,
Yeah.
Calgary Stampede and the rodeo songs and stuff like that. And they were just about winding it up about the time that I got recording. And I never did work with Hank, but I did play steel guitar for Wolf Carter a few times at Calgary Stampede and a few shows.
Oh, wow.
And over the years, quite a few people on package shows, and festivals, and just so many different artists. And I remember one we did was called Rocky Mountain Jam, I think, and it was a variety of artists Toby Keith was on there, and I'm trying to think. Right on the tip of my tongue, I can't remember a very, very famous rock band. That's crazy, I can't remember it. But and Waylon was on that too, and a lot of American artists and a few Canadian artists. And there always seemed to be those kind of shows when they got a festival. When they first brought it up, they were pretty well all American artists, you know, because a lot of there was a real bias against Canadian artists, you know, because American artists would all draw in the people, but Canadian artists, you always got treated kind of like a local yokel, and you weren't very often booked to do those big shows. But of course, in '77 and so on, when I started having hit records, I was pretty well always on anything that was within driving or flying distance at home.
Well, country fans, they don't care where you're from. If you're putting out good country music, they're going to be a fan for life. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I found that out. But you can appreciate too that when you're not a name that's going to draw people, they, you know, to survive, they got to have names that are good drawing people. And in the early days, the Americans and like I say, most of them were all live and direct from the Grand Ole Opry, and that was always a big thing up in Canada too. But when things started happening for me, I got pretty well on a lot of those, and I still do the odd one of them, but not as many as I used to, because I used to, if somebody phoned, I'd get on the plane and fly 3,000 miles to the other side of Canada and do a show or go overseas or anything. And now I kind of pick and choose because, like I say, I'll be 84 in March, and I gotta keep a little gas in the tank.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to be celebrating your birthday down there. What day in March is your birthday?
My birthday is on the 22nd.
Okay.
I think we leave to come back on the 20th. We're just going to miss it. But that doesn't mean we can't celebrate.
Well, heck
Raise
yeah.
a little bit tonight before I leave.
Heck yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be cool. Well,
yeah, that's for sure.
Dick, you've written some books too. You wrote an autobiography, and you've written a couple novels too. Is that right?
Yes, the book was called The Legend and the Legacy, which was named after a song I had that was a pretty big song. So the publisher of the book chose that as you know, the title of the song, and it's pretty well a hardcore biography, and it goes right from the days when I was you know, the day I was born right up until I think the book came out in about 2006 or something like that. I don't know for sure, but it really well covered that area. And I wrote a couple of things in there that, well, you know, a little bit of everything. And of course, the editors took the axe to it and cleaned it up a little bit and changed a few things around. But a couple of things in my early days, they ask you, you know, like, what did your parents say to you when you were a little boy that influenced you a lot? And I said, well, my mother used to say, if you kids knew what your mother went through to bring one of you into this world, you would treat your mother like you do. And my dad used to say when he was whipping my bum, he used to always say, damn it, boy, someday you will learn. So those were my guiding lights for the first few years. And I had that in the book. And then it comes right down to our tours and playing some of what we call Paradise Knife and Gun clubs, where people would come up and say, play Snake Skull at Night or I'm going to kill you. And I don't know if you're familiar with that song or not, but I wrote that about a club in Nashville where that actually happened. And it was down on Broad, and these guys were doing their show, and this guy come up, and that's exactly what he said, and he wanted him to do a David Allen Post song. And when the guy wouldn't play it for him, he just pulled out his gun and killed him right there.
Dang.
And I was in Nashville at the time, so somebody said, my, there's something to write a song about. So I'd gone to Toronto a couple of days after that, but I found out how to get press from any place, and I went into the press club, and we pulled up the Nashville banner, I think it was, and there was this story in there, so I got copies of that, and then I ended up writing that song about that. And every song that I've got has come from something rather than sitting down and saying, well, somebody's got a session coming up next week and I got to try to write a song for them. And almost all of my songs have come from those things, and a lot of producers will say, well, that don't mean anything to anybody in Indianapolis or in Oklahoma or something. But I've always tried to pick songs that are realistic, something I've experienced, people that I've known, or trips. Like I wrote one called Midnight Flights about flying home from England and things like that. And they just present themselves to me, and that's always been like the grist for the mill, as they say.
Well, that's what sets country music apart. Freddie Hart says it's people put to music, and I think that's a great term. And that's what sets country music apart, real country music. And, of course, I'm not talking about this new crap that they play. It's not country music. This, it doesn't have the staying power. The stuff you're talking about has got the staying power because it's real life. It's written about real things, and I applaud you for that. That's the best thing you could ever do.
Yeah, one time in my life, we have our ups and downs, and sometimes you're flying along, and I just 76, 77, and 78, I won Male Vocalist Year in Canada, and I had a string of #1 hits and so on, and I was flying pretty high. But when they come onto that, things kind of slowed down a while. That's when I was touring England, and I wasn't paying much attention to my own people in my own market. And it changed in that time, and I thought, well, maybe I'll write some songs for some other people. And so I started listening to what other people were writing. And I just thought, well, that's not me, and I'm not going to throw what I've done away in order to write songs about she's my little baby and she loves my John Deere tractor. I just couldn't quite bring myself to it, and I thank God that I didn't.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Dick, you got to play the Grand Ole Opry too, is that right?
And not actually the Grand Ole Opry. It says in my bio that I did. What happened, I was in town when Country Music Week used to run at the same time as the Grand Ole Opry. And they had, the CMA had an international show at the War Memorial Arena.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I did my show. There was a number of us and quite a few. They had a couple from each different country, like Australia and England and so on, and I was the guy from Canada. And it was the 42nd anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry, and I think they used to call it DJ Week, or, when everybody went to Nashville for that.
Yeah, the DJ convention.
And, yeah. And so I was on that show, but I wasn't actually on the Grand Ole Opry. I was on the international show when we were all there for the 42nd anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry. And I've never tried to say, oh, yeah, I was on the Opry, because I wasn't.
Well, that venue you mentioned, that they held the Opry there for quite some time, I know, too. So
yes, they did, and I didn't know that till after I, to kind of shore up my story, because I don't like to tell people stories and then they say, well, that's all BS, And I talked to a guy, and since I had my stroke, my memory isn't quite as sharp as it was. But there was a guy called Bill Littleman. He wrote for all the magazines and stuff. And anyway, I contacted him, and we got talking about this, and he told me that at one time the Opry was held at the War Memorial Arena and so on.
Yes, sir.
And so he put a little note in one of his stories about me appearing on the international show during the 42nd anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry.
There you go.
So that was kind of nice of him.
Absolutely. Well, DickDamron.com is the website, and there's plenty of Dick's music available at Amazon.com as well. And Dick, we are looking forward to the North American Country Music Association International Awards Can't wait to meet you, and I sure have enjoyed talking with you today. And I want to thank you for the time. I really do appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed it immensely, and I'm sitting here where it's probably about 85 degrees here. And the last few days up in Canada, it's been 40 below.
Yeah, rub it in.
Now we're on Celsius up there, and that's where the two equal, minus 40 Celsius and minus 42 below Fahrenheit are equal. Like before that, Celsius and Fahrenheit kind of skip past each other.
Yeah.
But at 40 below, they're equal. So I'm a lot happier down here trying to keep from getting the sunburn than I am up there trying to keep from getting froze to death.
Yeah, that's right. Well, rub it in. I'm up in Michigan, and we're buried in snow right now, so I know how it is.
Oh, yeah? Are you getting the same kind of...
oh, yeah. Not quite as cold, but boy, I'll tell you, we sure have gotten the snow, and it's been down in single digits here and below zero at night. It's cold, but it is what it is, you know. Well, Dick, thanks so much so much for being on the show. I sure appreciate it. We're going to play some of your music, and we'll look forward to seeing you in March down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. And if you talk to Jeff before I do, make sure you pass along my greetings. Eh?
You bet I will. Dick Damron, it's right here on Canadian Country Gold, MKOCRadio.com. Thank you so much, Dick.
Thank you, buddy.